Hello and welcome back to IndustryBroadcast.com for audio article number 97. Paul Evans is a software engineer who has been messing around with code since he was but a young lass. How young, you ask? Well, for his 4th birthday, he got his grandfather to buy him 60 programs for the Oric 1 from W.H. Smith's. After working for 5.5 years with a DS Limited, making library and learning center software, Paul made the leap over to Lionhead Studios as a part of their central technology group, where he still works to this day. To be clear, the views expressed in Paul's pieces do not represent in any way, shape, or form the views or opinions of Lionhead Studios. Audio article number 97. Agile Development, a Vocabulary. Background. This is the start of a series of articles about agile development. The motivation behind writing these articles is to expand my knowledge of the topic by explaining how I currently understand it. I imagine feedback from readers about their own experiences and understanding of the topics discussed could help my own comprehension of the material. This entry focuses on some basic vocabulary used in the project management side of agile practices. The vocabulary presented here concentrates on requirement gathering, describing deliverables, and estimation, and will be used in later articles in this series. My experiences. The game team I am currently working on uses Scrum, though purists would call it Scrum But, which is the common methodology adopted for managing time on agile projects. I have myself used agile styles of development practices like unit testing and continuous integration using NUnit, cruisecontrol.net, and Track in my past life outside of the games industry. I have made sure to make time to read about these agile practices for years. Most of the week beginning on the 8th of February 2009, I took part in a lab called Agile Development in C#, and I have a glimpse of techniques used in teams around the mothership. Spending the week building a project, managing the backlog, and taking turns at being the Scrum Master and team lead was a very educational experience. Living it with guidance in this way was like a crucible of learning. There was an element of competition as well. It was very rewarding, yet quite draining. My current lead developer attended the same course, thus I am more confident about buy-in and some agile practices at that level because of the extra common ground that brought me. I have already had the opportunity to apply some development techniques discussed in that course in the main codebase I work on with day to day. Vocabulary. User stories. User stories are requirements written from the perspective of the customer. A collection of user stories makes up the product backlog and can be prioritized by how important they are to the user. This allows the developer to concentrate on things that would be immediately useful to the consumer for when a vertical slice of the product is delivered at the end of the sprint. A user story is an expression of what they want and why, rather than any technical detail of the how. A good example might be, I would like my lawn to be short, so that it is pleasant to lay back and read in the garden. A poor example might be, mow the lawn to 2 centimeters using a rotary petrol mower. The user stories concentrate on requirement gathering and intent. These stories help communicate how the development team understands the requirements. They also allow quick feedback from the user on any good or bad assumptions made. Story points. Story points were introduced as a way to quantify an estimate of the user's story. Whereas estimates are usually expected as a duration, story points are based on an estimation of size and complexity. For example, a gardener might want to estimate the size of the lawn, see how overgrown it is, and how much edge work would be necessary to keep it neat before attempting to estimate the time. Depending on weather conditions on the day, it might even take slightly longer on some days than others. The customer expects a regular fee and period of time spent in the garden, rather than taking into account difficulties from one week to the next. One week the garden may not have grown very much, and the whole thing will be quicker to complete. Perhaps the gardener might take the time to make nice little extra touches to the garden that adds value where there is ample time left over. So a story point is not directly translatable to time because of the various unknowns. The number of story points against something keeps track of how much effort will be required. Something with more story points is harder to complete. Tasks. Tasks are derived from breaking the user story down into small chunks of functionality. These tasks are estimated in hours or story points. The estimated time remaining is updated daily during the Scrum. A task is only counted as done when it is verified. A consistent measurement of done is important so that it can be signed off for the sprint. Quality gates can be used to measure if something is actually complete. This could include passing tests and automated code quality tools. Once all of the tasks for the user story have been completed, functionality tested and verified, then it can be taken from the product backlog. For example, tasks for a large garden could be, in the form of tasks verify duration. Mow the lawn. Lawn appears visibly shorter. Regular straight lines can be seen in grass, 2 hours. Tidy garden and rake lawn. No debris can be seen on the lawn or the path. Grass cuttings bagged and loaded, 1 hour. The Daily Scrum. The Daily Scrum is often a short morning stand-up meeting only including people doing work itself. The Scrum Master role can be taken up by any member of the team. The Scrum Master asks the questions. What did you do? What will you do today? What is blocking you? The estimates are updated on the current tasks, and the Scrum Master goes about trying to unblock the team where they are blocked. Blockages could be something technical, through to waiting on another team to complete a task. Continuing the gardening example, if the gardeners have noticed the lawnmower blades have become dull and causing the team to slow down, it could be up to the Scrum Master to communicate with the tools team to ask them to sharpen the lawnmower blades. Sprints. A selection of user stories are chosen for the sprint. Stories can be added or dropped from a sprint, but the deadline for a deliverable does not change. If the deliverable, demonstrable versions of the software, is created ahead of time, and the team feels confident that they can take on another story from the backlog and it isn't too big, break it down where possible. The idea of a sprint is to always have something to show for the work everybody has done at regular intervals, to allow the users to feed back. At the point a sprint begins, the requirements of the stories they are working on are locked. A sprint can be completely aborted or a story dropped, but the requirements of an existing story should not change. The motivation is that the team is not aiming for a moving target and can concentrate on getting the unit of work done. Ideally, each sprint delivers a vertical slice to show progress. For the running gardening example I have been using, this might be completing the more simple front garden entirely to prove the gardeners have understood the requirements sufficiently to maintain the garden to the customer's expectations. It also gives the customer an opportunity to feedback or change their mind. Actually, I want my lawn to have circles rather than lines. Vocabulary cheat sheet. Daily Scrum. Short stand-up meetings. What did you do? What will you do? And what is blocking you? Product backlog. Prioritize list of user stories. Quality gate. Checklist of things to verify work against before it is counted as complete. Scrum Master. Leads the daily scrum, tracks works completed and remaining, and organizes removal of things blocking the team, ideally a role rotated between team members. Sprint. A period of time where user stories are chosen to work on. External influences are not allowed to change the requirements of the stories being worked on. Sprints are a fixed length, but stories can be postponed or additional ones taken from the product backlog. Story points. Units of estimation measuring complexity. Tasks. A user story can be broken down into one or more tasks. Tasks are estimated daily in hours or story points remaining by the developer working on them. User stories. User requirements expressed in sentences from the customer perspective. Vertical slice. Showing off a feature in an application that works from start to finish but may be limited in scope. For example, a rope bridge crossing a chasm is immediately useful and allows people to cross. Having that in place can help to build a better bridge later. This concludes audio article number 97, once again titled Agile Development Vocabulary and written by Paul Evans. As mentioned in the beginning of this article, the views and opinions expressed in this piece do not represent in any way, shape, or form the views or opinions of Lionhead Studios. To check out more of Paul's articles on his blog, we recommend that you head over to PaulEcoyote, that's PaulEcoyote.wordpress.com. As always, we recommend that you check back frequently to IndustryBroadcast.com, where we do our very best to update the site on a regular basis. bringing the collective insight of the gaming industry to your ears.